Okay, hello guys, I'm here to talk today about the Yiynova MVP22U. I don't believe it has a plus at the end, but it does have buttons on top, like the MSP19U plus. Sorry, my voice is a little worn out today. I decided to do a review today because recently my boyfriend decided he couldn't draw on screen. So after he bought this one, he decided he just wanted to switch back to his tablet PC, or not his tablet, but his on desk tablet. And that's not because there's anything wrong with the tablet itself. It's just he wasn't able to get used to it after a month or so of using it. Versus me, who I'm very used to working on these tablets now, or just any tablet in general. I believe he even believes that he wouldn't be able to use a Cintiq because he just says that drawing on the screen doesn't seem to help him. He's not very used to that, and he doesn't like it, and he's not very adaptive as far as like changing how he works. So me, on the other hand, I was very able to switch from the tablet from on desk to one of these. The one that I used to have, which I still do have it, but I'm going to be selling it, is the MSP19U plus, which I really liked. I mean, there wasn't anything wrong with it. I enjoy it, and I would easily switch back to it if I didn't have this one. However, this one is the $900 one. It's about $950 something on Amazon. The MSP is $640-ish. You get everything you need with that one. However, if you do have a problem with not having like the best screen you possibly can, I'm talking like high definition, close to that, you're definitely going to want to go with this one. This one has the IPS display, so it has true color to match. It almost matches this screen back here that I have, which is another IPS panel. It's 22 inches. It's very large. Very sharp. The problem I had with the MSP, and I think I mentioned this on my other review, was that the screen was very sharp, and I believe that's because it was like a 1440 by 900 resolution, which isn't optimal for really any kind of screen, I don't think. So you're obviously going to have some quality issues there, but it was something I never noticed that much. It never affected my artwork. Pressure on the thing is excellent. It matches this one perfectly. They're both the same as far as pressure and usability goes. It's just this one has the better screen. So if you're willing to pay the extra $300 for a better screen, this is the way to go. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be selling the other one and keeping this one for myself, and eventually paying my boyfriend the amount he paid for it, which is about $900. So over time I'll own this, but I'm going to use it for now for my art as my main thing from now on. Now, my other review, I wasn't able to show that I did in fact buy an arm. As you can see, it is very versatile. I'm able to move it up. And this one works a little better as far as like being able to do this. The other one I wasn't able to do that so easily with. Works really great. There's a thing on that back here you can move up and down, so you can have it be higher or lower, whatever. I have it low because I like to dip it over the desk corner so that I can use it. I am capable of extending these monitors. However, if you are an avid paint tool SAI user, I'm going to say that you're definitely going to have the screens be like this one over top and the other one down below. That means you're going to have to drag your windows up to get it onto the other screen versus side to side like most people do. The reason for this being has nothing to do with the tablet. It's because SAI has not been updated in like 5 years or so. Yeah, I think even more than that. And because of that, there are some issues with SAI that need to be addressed. That because the tablet is newer and SAI is older, it's just you just can't have it side by side for some reason. It messes with the digitizer. But this way works. I have no problems with that screen being on like the bottom and this one being on the top. And then all I do is I basically just drag them. I don't know if you can see it on the other one. Just kind of drag them back and forth, and that works out. So you can have two displays with it. You can also mirror, which is great with this one. The other one, not so good for mirroring. The reason being, it's 1440 by 900, and I can't really think of any monitors these days that come in that resolution. If you're mirroring, the Windows will combine these two monitors and use one resolution. That's going to be the resolution on this screen. So it is a good idea that if you want to be mirroring, this is exactly the same desktops, you're going to want to go with this, because this is the exact resolution of my IPS monitor back there. And though this screen is great, I do still do a little bit of editing on the IPS just because it's just not quite there yet, not with HD, because it's like, this is still VGA. It's still VGA, so you still have a tiny bit, very, very unnoticeable quality difference, but it's to the point where most normal people could look at it and be like, that's a great screen. That looks great. I can't see anything wrong with that. Sometimes actually, I'll look at it and my art looks better on this versus that. So there's that possibility. There's that as well. But for the most part, really love this one. It's worth the money. It's about $900 versus a Cintiq of the same size, which is about, I think they're about $2,000 now, or between $1,500 and $2,000. I know the 24 is, I believe it's about $2,500 or something. I don't know. I don't look at Wacom's prices anymore because they're frankly outrageous, and I will never buy a product from them. So, alright, let's get to the actual tablet. Alright, so, sorry about the reflection. Can't really do a whole lot about that since it's a glass panel here. But for the most part, when you're looking straight onto it, you're not going to see these reflections. It's just more like a side reflection versus, you know, me looking straight at it. I don't have any issues with reflections as long as I'm working in a fairly dim room. I wouldn't sit by a window with it, obviously. Plus it gets kind of hot right here anyway, so it's not to the point where it bothers me or anything, but there's still that warmness there. As you can see, I've gotten a glove for it. This is from Smudgeguard. It's really great. It's good for glass panels as it helps your hand slide nicely, keeps the panel nice and clean. Alright, so I'm going to display responsiveness on this tablet. And I do apologize, you're probably not going to be able to see it too well, since I don't have a camera person here with me. I kind of have to do all the camera work myself. But as you can see, I can draw pretty okay on it. Sorry, I'm just looking to see if it's clear on there. Responsiveness, fantastic. Just the same as the MSP. Now this one I did notice. The panel is a lot thinner than the MSP as well. So your cursor is going to be like right where your actual pen tip is. It took me a little adjusting to get used to because I was used to my cursor being about half the, like, I don't know, centimeter or something away from my my pen, which never bothered me. I kind of preferred it to be out of the way of the pen anyway. Because with precision work, it's a little more difficult to when you're working digitally, it's a little more difficult for your pen to be in your way when you're doing small details. So I really liked that it wasn't in the way, but this only took me about a day to kind of get used to it. But as you can see, I mean, it works great. Let me get a thing with really fine lines here. You probably can't even see that. Apologize for that. But the fact that you can't see it shows that these are very thin lines that I'm getting here. A lot of my artwork deals with having very thin lines on the edges of my pictures or my characters or whatever. So you definitely know that this thing gets some pretty nice small lines. Okay, Let me think of anything here. Buttons. Okay. First of all, buttons are useless. These buttons are useless. Yiynova is great with everything else, but there's one thing that I know they definitely have to work on is buttons. They work. I mean, like if you set them, they're gonna click and you're gonna sometimes get what you want. But I noticed there's a big issue with these is, even on my other one, even my MSP, I had issues with the buttons. Like I would set the hotkeys to them, the hotkeys would not stay. They would reset, and I could not figure out why. No matter what I did, they would always default back to the originals. So I eventually taught myself to just not use buttons. Besides, there's so many on-screen tools that I don't really need it. So I'm able to, like, I hit the back button when I need it, rotate when I need it over here, so on and so forth. I don't need a keyboard to work on this inside. However, if you are a Photoshop user, you are going to probably have to have a keyboard, or if you can get these to work, you can try those. I know my boyfriend was using those and he wasn't having too many issues, but I'm very finicky about buttons. And I was like, those don't work, so I'm not going to use them. Plus, it's very odd that they're these ones are on top versus the MSP, which is on the side. I don't know why they put them on top for this model, but, whatever works for them, I guess. Alright, and then we got the pen here. You're gonna see it though well. There's a light on there. I don't know if you can see the light, but it indicates that my battery's getting low. My light's always on, so I guess I always have crap batteries. I don't know. The battery lasts a good while. I've noticed that mine don't last very long because I have really crappy rechargeable batteries that are not that great. But a standard battery, like the one that came with it, actually works great. Like, I think I didn't have to change it for like, I don't know, 6 to 8 months. So it's not a downside. People are thinking, oh, you have to put a battery in it. I'm like, that's not a big deal. You have to put a battery in most mouses. So, I mean, it takes up the same energy as a mouse does. So you expect that if your mouse dies, if you have a wireless one that is, if your mouse dies in like 6 months or so, it's going to be the same battery life in this if you get good batteries. So if you're going to be, getting rechargeable ones, buy good ones, not bad ones, not like I did. Pen tip is okay. I have no issues with it. There are some people who like to have texture when they draw. I don't. I like to have a very slick surface. So this works out for me, but it might not work out for everybody. You can get things for them. There's a company I ordered from. Not the best, but it's like the only one that sells for these tablets. But it had a slight texture to it that you could get away with, to have a little bit of texture. It also protected the screen, but I took it off after a while because I didn't like it that much, and the texture was bothering me. And I mean, I drew on my MSP for a good many months after that, not a single scratch on it. I have not seen any nicks, no dings, nothing. There's nothing wrong with that screen. I've drawn on it forever. So glass panels are definitely great for lasting a really long time. Syntigs are kind of like a plasticky material, so I've heard people having issues with that getting scratched very easily. So, I mean, when you think about it, you're paying $1,500 for a product you can easily damage, and I'm just like, no thanks. I would much rather pay for this, which is glass, which is going to last me a long time. Now, I have had a few people on my last review tell me that they've had some issues with receiving a panel from Yiynova that is has dead pixels or has problems. I'm not saying you won't receive one that has problems. I've definitely heard Yiynova or Panda City, wherever, has occasionally sent out one that hasn't worked or something, or has a bug with it. If you do have a bug, I do urge you, don't say the tablet itself is crap. Just return it and get a new one from them, if they will honor it. Dead pixels are something they don't honor. They don't, if you have 3 or less, they will not replace your tablet. However, I wasn't really concerned with dead pixels. If I got one that had dead pixels, I was going to be like, yeah, whatever. I paid $600 for like a tablet that works, so whatever. So far though, I mean, I don't know if we've been lucky, but me and my boyfriend received 2 tablets from Yiynova. Both are in excellent working condition, have no bugs whatsoever. Now, however, I did notice that my boyfriend's, when he used this on his tablet, his computer, he had more issues than I did. So that goes to show that a computer also contributes greatly to whether or not this is going to work good for you or not. My computers, I have two, works great with it. I have Windows 8 installed on both computers. I have also tried it on Windows XP, works fine on that. However, Windows 7 is what he's been using on his, doesn't work so great with that. I'm not sure if that's for every single Windows 7 computer or if it's just his. His computer's wonky, it's crazy, doesn't work that great. So it could just be his computer. But I'm just saying right now that my experience works great on Windows 8.1, 8, and XP. So there's that. I am going to say that that the drivers I have seem to work better with it. These are the rollback drivers for MSP19. I did not change the drivers. I'm using the same drivers that I used with the MSP for this one. So, works fine with the drivers, and I have no issues. What else here? What else? Trying to think of any other like little tweaks about it that you need to know so you can set it up properly. Definitely whenever you get it, you have to turn off, it's like, here, let me get it up real quick. I definitely suggest you turn this off. There's a little tick box here. It says support tablet PC function. You do not want to have that on. I've noticed I have some issues with it when I have that on. It's mostly like, it's like, it does that little spiral dot thing. And I'm pretty sure that's just because Windows tablet PC functions are kind of crappy. So, yeah. Photoshop. I don't use Photoshop for drawing. However, the only reason I don't use it is because this computer doesn't get along with Photoshop that well. However, I have used it on my other computer. Photoshop works great with it. It works fine. I was able to get nice thin lines, very responsive. I just had to mess with it a little bit. I was eventually able to get it. So if you guys have any questions about that, I can kind of like look at my settings on that one. If you can't get it to work, I can look at my settings. I can be like, here's my settings for, I think it's CS5. To get it to work for you. Because it does work. I know it does. I just can't draw Photoshop to save my life. So, there's that. As far as other programs go, I have tried this in many programs. It works in Open Canvas. It works in a Sketcher thing online called Sketch Room. It works in that. That's pretty basic. So, I mean, it works in that. I mean, come on. The only thing I've used so far that it hasn't really worked in is this this older program. I can't remember what it's called. It's like I don't remember, but it's it works in most things. Not sure about the other major ones like Illustrator, Autodesk Sketchbook, whatever that is. I don't know about it working in those. I could test it if you guys would really want me to. I can get programs, all the programs you guys ever want. I'll test it on every one of them if it's your main one, just to prove whether or not it works or not. So, alright. What else we got? Comes with a bunch of nibs, about 4 or 5 nibs. No variation in nibs, but I did hear that you could take Wacom's nibs and trim them and put them in. I tried that once. It did work to a degree, but I was just kind of like, nah, I'll just stick with the other nib. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and draw something real quick. Or I can just open something and work on it, or I don't know. No, I'll just draw something. I'm just going to draw like a bird thing. It's very great for drawing. My own productivity has definitely increased since I got this, but as I stated before, it's not for everybody. My boyfriend didn't like it. He's very finicky. So if you find yourself, like if you try to switch to different tablets over the years and you've noticed that you have a severe difficulty doing that, I definitely would say be cautious with buying any kind of on-screen tablet, because it's not for everybody, especially if you're extremely used to drawing on the on-desk sort of things. Me, I'm very adaptive. I was capable, I don't know, I'm just able of switching up my process pretty easily if I really need to. It did take me a month or two, or maybe a few weeks I'd have to say, to kind of get used to drawing on screen, but for the most part that was just because I was so used to using shortcut buttons, and I needed to kind of get used to figuring out, you know, what it can do, because the buttons weren't working that great on it. But I mean, out of the box, the other one I thought was great. So, and sorry if you can't see this too well, it's kind of like, you know, there you go, that's a little better. Trying to kind of stay out of the way so you can actually see what I'm doing here. It's great, you know. I know there's a lot of people who will make these reviews and then they don't draw. So I'm going to try to be focusing more on that. Sorry I'm drawing a lame bird thing, I don't even know. But let me display like some of the painting as well would be a good thing to take a look at. Let me close this. Get it out of my face here. Okay, I mean, painting is great on as well. And painting is actually, like, my boyfriend was able to paint on it pretty okay. He just couldn't line on it. So, if you don't have a very stable hand, I mean, he was even using stabilizers and he just couldn't, like, get himself to be stable. That has nothing to do with the tablet because, I mean, I don't have the most stable hand, but I'm still capable of making pretty good lines with this. Very, very smooth, very, very straight. Of course, Sai has a lot to do with that as well. Sai is pretty good. Alright, so this is just like my regular brush here. There's not a lot of latency, or I had some people complaining, or no, I had one person, just one person, who insisted that these tablets had some kind of lag. There's no lag. I mean, if I had lag, I would never be able to draw on this. Lag is like my #1 enemy. Really hate lag. But there's no lag. It's, I think more or less the person was talking about, like, the cursor just simply being further away from the screen than they expected it to be. But I mean, works fine. I mean, now keep in mind, I have a pretty crappy computer too. It only has about 4 gigabytes of RAM. It's not the fastest, and I am capable of still getting like some pretty good results. No lag, nothing like that. The only time I ever get lag is whenever I go into Photoshop and I use like the most massive brush I can possibly do. Of course, I've not used a computer yet that I've owned that has not had that issue. So, you know, moral of the story here is Photoshop is a RAM monster. It requires a you know, high-end graphic card and just to get those big brushes to be working. I think I told somebody the tilt worked. You know, tilt brushes. I don't think they do work, but I can't really test that in Photoshop because this computer's GP, like the thing that turns on like the rotation and smooth view in Photoshop, doesn't work on my computer. Reason being is because I've kind of put Windows 8 on this when it's like a 7-year-old computer. It's not even supposed to really have it on there. But that's the only issue I have with it. So yeah. But I mean, works great. Love it. Originally, it comes with something called a VESA stand, which is like a stand on the back that lets you kind of pull it up and down on a flat surface. It does come with something. You can also take it off completely and lay it flat on the desk if you want to like hover on it or hover over it. The cords are on the side, they're not on the back, which is good. And they're kind of very thick cables, very well grounded. I can't see them like getting damaged or anything like, you know, like Sentegs do. As long as you're not like wailing on it or something all the time. Let's see here. I was gonna show you. I drew this today on it. It's just like a griffin thing that I sold and I'm going to sell. Did this completely on here. It's very nice. Occasionally, like, hover distance with this is gonna be like, just about here. Tilt's fine. Heard people say that like you can't tilt your pen or something to draw. Just like, that's weird because I can totally do that. I'm like completely tilting this pen right now as I'm drawing from like all angles there. Oops, sorry, I'm clicking buttons, I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, like once you get like here, like when you're like almost flat against it, you can't draw anymore. But you know, I'm tilting this a good bit right here. This is a pretty good angle. And I think this is about the angle that most people draw at, if not like, you know, I do like this. But, you know, whatever. Other things, let me think here. You can get a better pen for it too, which I'm going to eventually do. They sell a better pen for about $50. It kind of looks like the Wacom pen, which is great. Still battery powered, however, I mean, it's better. This pen is fine for me, it's plastic, whatever, I mean, it's kind of cheap sounding, but it works great. I haven't had any issues with it. It doesn't bother me any. What else? Let me see here. I actually think that might be about it. A lot of people say when they go to set it up, do recommend getting the drivers from online. If you have any issues, I would say please don't be afraid to contact either Yiynova or the company you bought it from. Yiynova does not sell these directly to people outside of Japan. So if you have any issues with the tablet itself, I say directly contact the company you bought it from. US company is going to be Panda City. Panda City is very responsive. Have always answered all of my questions. Have always tried to be very helpful for me. If you get one that is defective, I do urge you, please just return it. Get another one. If you keep getting one that's defective, I'm going to be very surprised because, I mean, I got two that were perfectly good working condition. I'm not saying that you won't get one that isn't working, but I say definitely give it a second try because, I mean, the ones that I got that work great. They work fantastic, and I have no issues with them. Oh, here's an issue that I think is because it's analog, but if you have a cell phone like sitting under it, like it's not going to do it right now, it only does it whenever people send me messages. But if you have a cell phone, like it has to usually be under it or just just very close to it. It will occasionally cause the screen to kind of like freak out a little bit. It'll do like these little lines, and then as soon as I like take my phone away though, it's fine. I imagine I wouldn't want my phone sitting close to it for an extended period of time. Like the analog systems, like analog cables or whatever kind of get interference whenever you get like texts and stuff. Kind of like, you know, how speakers will sometimes do that. It's the same thing with this. So, what else? I think that's just about it, actually. I would draw a little bit more on it. Oh, I did have a question before about whether or not you can use this to check the internet or whatever, do normal everyday things. You can do that. You can also use it to like the handwriting tool on like a Windows thing where you can bring it up and you just handwrite, you know, whatever thing you want to put into a typing window or so on and so forth. I mean, you can use it like a regular screen, just like with the touch or whatever, and I mean, I think it's great. The range of pressure here is going to be immense, you know, it's just like, ooh. Can't really see that, but there's lines there. Okay, so I think that's done. Sorry, it got a little dark in here while I was working on this. That's actually kind of beneficial because no more reflection, yay! Alright then, any questions? Feel free to ask me down below in the YouTube comments. If you want to request me to do anything on the tablet that you want to see, any questions about it, you know, where you should buy it from, I'm going to drop the links down below. Also, along with my art websites, you can check it out. Anywhere, my name is Meredies, which is MEREDIES. That's going to be on Twitter, DeviantArt, Fur Affinity, Tumblr. I mostly use Tumblr. That's going to be my main place because I get a lot of business there. But yeah, if you want to contact me about any commission work or any questions that you may have, feel free to. You can check out my work there as well. And that's my review of the MVP22U. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me below. Thank you.